Hi there, welcome to Cami Outdoors. So today I am interviewing someone that is associated with a really cool trail, and I chose this trail because it needs a lot of attention. And it's a trail that I really love, and I'm excited to hear all about stuff that might be happening here. So today I'm at the Mackenzie Trails, just outside of Cabernet Peaks here in Cadillac, Michigan. Cadillac? Mm-hmm. Well, I didn't know. I know where I live.
I've been told on the census that Cabernet is now a place, but I'm not sure what that means. If it's not a town, it's just a place.
I just didn't know if it was a Cadillac address. So anyway, Cabernet yes. Peaks. Okay, so today I'm with
Sam Hogg.
Sam Hogg. And Sam, can you tell me what your association is with Mackenzie Trails?
Sure. So I am the president of the Friends of the Mackenzie Trail, which is a nonprofit that was set up to help maintain and promote the appropriate uses of the trail. So,
and how many years have you been doing that?
Well, we started the organization about 3 years ago, but it's really kind of the long tail of 20 to 25 years of stewardship by the Cabernet Ski Club, who took over grooming services, or started grooming services probably in the early 2000s.
Okay, and that's what I'm familiar with. When I first found out about this trail, I cross-country skied here once, and at that time, I think it was people to do with Cabernet.
Yeah.
But now there's a Friends of Mackenzie Trails.
Yeah, I mean, so when we started grooming, it was basically illegal. There's no motorized use. There's no motorized use allowed on the Mackenzie Trail. It's a designated cross-country ski, biking, hiking, foraging, kind of quiet sports trail.
Okay.
So we just illegally would take a snowmobile back there with a drag and drag it, and eventually a lot more people skied on it. And,
that's what I thought, that it was self-skied groomed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, it was all backcountry before we started the drag, and honestly, the Forest Service was kind of a ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies relationship.
Okay.
Most people knew that if they heard a motorized use out there, it was the groomer.
Okay.
But long story short, 20 years later, you can't get away with doing things very unofficial anymore. So we were told we needed to formalize what we were doing.
Okay. So,
and we started Friends of the Mackenzie, and we're actually now in a Forest Service contractual relationship where we're given funding in exchange for some maintenance and grooming services.
All right. So is there a website that you can give me the address to so I can share that with people who are interested in it?
It's easy, but it's long. friendsofthemackenzie.org.
Okay. Yeah. And I'll post that in the details with this. So when was the trail established?
You know, I don't know. All this area became national forest in the late 1930s. So CCC, this was Harrietta, and this whole area was a heavy area for logging camps during the Depression. And then all this became national forest in the late 1930s. So I'm guessing this area was established as a recreation area back then, but I have no idea when the trail actually became a trail.
Okay, fair enough. Mm-hmm. Okay, now, who was Mackenzie? Now, my mother's birth name was Mackenzie, spelt differently. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. So do you know who Mackenzie was? What's the trail named after?
So I know a little bit of the lore, but prior to this being Forest Service land, it was a giant ranch. And it was the Mackenzie Ranch. And I think they raised beef. And apparently, because this is all very sandy out here, it was a poor beef ranch operation, and long story short, I think it went into foreclosure, and then the government purchased it and added on to what became the Manistee National Forest, which is obviously hundreds of thousands of acres around here.
Okay, so they kept the name Mackenzie.
In his failing businessman / rancher honor. So there's lots of stuff named Mackenzie around here.
Okay, cool. All right, so the trail is a federal owned trail system.
Federal Forest Service. Not Park Service, Forest Service. Yeah.
Federal Forest Service trail. Okay, because we have state-owned trails that the DNR maintains. So this is a federal Forest Service that they are supposed to maintain.
Yes.
So is there any connection to Cabernet anymore?
This whole area is kind of considered Cabernet after the ski resort. And there is a physical connection now to Cabernet in that I think in the think 2019 or 2020, an Eagle Scout project connected Caberfe's parking lot to the trail across their golf course, and that's that's called the seasonal connector, because it can only be used for winter access.
Oh, okay.
But that also corresponds when most people are at Caberfe. But if you wanted to cross-country ski after downhill skiing, you can take what's called the Caberfe connector, and it skis you across their golf course to the trail. So we're at the trailhead now. The other winter entrance is at Caberfe.
Okay, very good. Okay, so over the past years, who has primarily maintained the Mackenzie trails?
It's always been an effort between the Forest Service and kind of loose volunteers until our organization was formed. And honestly, that was not the ideal way to maintain it, because there was a lot of, when stuff went wrong, there was a lot of finger pointing. Well, did you guys do it, or we assumed you did it, and all that. So now we have total coordination with the Forest Service and our organization as to who's doing what. But the biggest bit of maintenance is obviously just tree removal. There's a ton of ash trees back there. They're all dead or dying from emerald ash borer, and when you get windstorms, they fall all over the place. So a lot of people think we spend 90% of our time grooming. The real answer is we spend 90% of our time with chainsaws and about 10% of our time grooming.
So prior to Friends of the Mackenzie Trails, then the Federal Forest Service kind of maintained. You were talking a little bit how that kind of fell through the cracks a little bit over the years.
I think just with liability and sensitivity to usership, the main drivers of getting it more formalized is it's a fine line who can go back there in a snowmobile to groom or maintain a trail or to cut trees.
Right, you wouldn't want just anybody going out.
And we leave a track every time we do it, and it invites people to do it. So, and also just when you're working on Forest Service lands, they have a priority for being, certified for chainsaw use and ATV use and all that stuff. So things were just becoming more and more official. So it was good to just say, let's do things fully. It's always been a great relationship, but it never was kind of formalized until a few years ago.
All right. So you did say we talked on it that you do groom it. So this is a full season trail system, and in the wintertime you groom it primarily for cross-country skiing.
We right now our drag is basically only for what's called tracks cross-country skiing, so going in a straight line. It is not groomed for skate. It is not wide enough currently for skate. It is not groomed for fat tire bike. It is not groomed for walking or snowshoeing. We try to so that people do not walk on the track, we actually drag some, I think they're called horse mats, to the sides of the drag to create a more inviting spot for people to walk. But that is one of our biggest issues in the wintertime, is folks that simply don't know to not walk in the track. So we try to educate with signage, and anytime you see someone walking outside the track, you say thank you for not walking in the track.
Right. And I think that's an issue across the board.
It's mostly education. Most people aren't doing it out of ill will. Most people just
hope not.
see the most groomed part, and that's where they walk.
Yeah, you would hope not. So I have cross-country skied out here. It's been years since I've skied out here, and I don't think I've skied out here since it's been officially groomed. You have a track then, a sladder that laid the tracks.
Yeah,
like they do at Cadillac Pathway.
Yeah, we have a slightly different machine. We used a tracked ATV instead of a snowmobile now, because it works better for what we're doing. But yeah, essentially you're dragging what looks like a railroad track at the after it, and your skis go in there.
You said that you laid the tracks for cross-country skiing, and then you have like a side that people could snowshoe on.
We hope they do.
Yeah. Now, I snowshoed at another trail system, and oh gosh, I can't remember where it was. But anyway, I'm cold. But I noticed that the grooming they used was, Big M. They had a big wide swath next to the ski trail. So I got off the bike trail, the groomed fat bike trail, because nothing was really marked very well out there. And they have a hiking or snowshoe groomed trail, but I couldn't find it. But anyway, that is nice having that extra space, because I would think you'd want to promote more winter usage, and if you open it and make it easier for skiers and snowshoers to play nice together,
Yep.
I think that I really appreciate that in a trail.
Yeah, so our goal is to go from what is about a 3-foot wide groom right now to ultimately 7-foot wide groom.
Wow.
Yeah, so the major thing before that happens is we have to do trail widening. So
Okay.
the next big project that we're going to do out here is to try to get everything to a minimal 8-foot clearance.
Okay.
Which it's not today. I've been told it was back in the day because they actually used this. They could get trucks back there for fire and all that.
Okay.
But yeah, we're working with less today. So our next big effort will be to restore that 8-foot corridor throughout the whole trail,
Okay.
so that we can purchase a bigger drag.
Okay.
The bigger
So-
drag creates more space.
Right. So that's the what. You groom specifically for inline cross-country skiing, Nordic or whatever they call it, and there's enough, but your goal is to have a wider swath for winter for
Yep.
snowshoers and skiers. Now, and you use the machine. Now, who does the grooming?
We have a combination of volunteers that are mostly very similar to Cadillac Winter Promotions and the snowmobile trails.
Oh, okay.
It's just a group of folks that are willing and able to jump on a sled or our groomer and head out. So,
Okay, like at the Cadillac Pathway, they have a grooming team
Yeah.
that take turns doing sections out there. So I assume that's what it's like
Similar.
here, a grooming bit team that,
And grooming's interesting too, because you can't always rely on one person, because you don't. We try to groom most Thursday or Fridays so that weekend winter use is at its best.
Okay.
But we also try to groom when it snows, and you never can pick that. So
Nope.
it's good to have a group of people you can pull on because if you get a big dump of snow, you want to groom that in quick.
right,
Because the more grooming you do during the year, the longer into March you can typically
Right.
go, because you compact it.
okay, so it's a volunteer through the Friends of the Mackenzie Trail,
Yep.
volunteer basis. So it's not the federal Forest Service doesn't do the grooming.
Yep.
It's you guys and girls, women that do it. Okay. Now, we kind of touched on it. So, what are the long-term plans and goals for Mackenzie Trails?
Sure. So we have we have a long-term work plan that we work towards, and the biggest thing that we want to accomplish right now is that we want to get an 8-foot corridor back. It's safer for grooming. It's better for all involved. It accommodates better two-way traffic, and honestly, for evacuations and things like that,
Oh.
it helps to have that pathway if you ever have an issue. The next big thing that we're doing is we're looking at the trail system in general in terms of what spurs, or most of it's looped, but what paths might have reached their useful limit. There are some low points and trails that should probably be decommissioned for just sensitive use. We need to improve our drainage out there. All these trails that were developed in the 1930s and 40s, or even later, culverts were never big enough, and so those things back up, and we need to improve it, and that ends up with low wet spots on the trail too. So those improvements. But the other big thing we want to do is really focus on 4-season use. Lots of people hike this trail, very few people bike it, and it just had about a 2-decade span where it just wasn't maintained well, and it was frustrating for mountain bikers. But around this area, as you well know, Cammie, there's a lot of sand, and this is one of the few trails that actually isn't super sandy.
That is true.
And it's got a lot of great elevations, and it's a great mountain bike trail, but we really want to get feedback from mountain bikers who go out there so that it self-perpetuates, because the real way you keep it open for mountain bikers is to have lots of them, because trampling is so much better than just brush hogging.
Right.
It just works long-term better.
Right.
So the more feedback and the more bikers that we can have out here, we'll listen to what they want, and if it's trail modifications, we can make them. So
Okay. Are you working with a professional trail builder now for mountain biking?
we are not. We have not. I think if we look at any major trail redos, which with the Forest Service generally is a multi-year process, you have to have a stakeholder process. That's where we would engage some folks that are trail builders and know how to utilize existing features. It's much easier to modify an existing trail than to create new trail in a forest or in a federal environment. So
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. So what you're going to rely on is getting the word out to mountain bikers to come to Mackenzie Trails and bike it.
Yep.
And would they give feedback then to the Friends of the
Sure.
Mackenzie Trails?
Or the Cadillac Area Visitors Bureau. There's just quick Google search. You can find ways to give us feedback and all that. We take that, and that helps inform us for future improvements.
Okay, now I'm very excited about this. I run out here, I've hiked out here, and I have mountain biked out here. And Sam is correct. I'm sure a lot of people do get discouraged because it is a huge undertaking for these volunteers to keep this trail clear for mountain biking. And it's a challenge to mountain bike it right now because of the overgrowth. And I'm so excited when I heard that from Sam that they were going to develop this for more for mountain biking. We live in this beautiful area, and within this section we have Big M, which is in past Wellston.
Yep.
We have Cadillac Pathway for single track, and that's about it. So here, if we could establish a nice single track mountain bike trail system at this area near Caberfay, that would just be, you could almost come up for a mountain biking destination and hit all three trails in this beautiful area. Yep. We're going to hike the trail, and I'm going to show you parts of the trail system here. And like Sam said, the trail is laid out in loops, and it's very well marked, and I'll show you that. And there's a cool creek out there, and a little bit of some footbridges out there. So I think I asked you all the questions that I wanted to ask you about the trail itself. So let's get geared up and hit the trail and show the folks what the trail's all about. So let's go for a hike.
And that becomes two trails, and that leads to trail confusion. So not only is it bad to walk. You look at an elevation change like this, like you just can't find that other easiest loop from your car.
And here's one little creek that runs through the trail right here. What's the name of this creek, do you think?
This is Johnson Creek.
Johnson Creek.
Peterson Creek.
Flows into Peterson Creek, which eventually flows into the big Manistee River. And I just saw a big hawk fly up there, but that's one of the creeks. So a lot of new green coming up because we've had rain showers, a couple of thunderstorms, and some warm temperatures finally. But what we can see is these right here are leeks. Leeks right here, and trout lilies are springing up. There's a trout lily shoot. If you're hiking, it's like, but the benches are here for cross-country skiing because this is how much snow we typically get in a good winter. So this just cracks me up when I see these. You're like a little girl.
So we're at 19 right now, and this is, or I don't think actually, is this 19? Yeah, 19, which is a major intersection. And as we modernize this trail, we're moving to more four-way intersections because it's flowier than having two adjacent three-ways. So when you're biking or hiking, every time you stop and look at a sign, it's kind of disrupting to your hike. So we try to make it easier to navigate and fewer trail stops. So,
I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
So everyone that's out here comes past 19 at some point.
So we can go that way to number 13, or we can go that way to number 14.
Yep. Or this way to
or
18.
That way to number 18.
Yep.
And
20.
and if you come up here and look at the map and find number 19, then you can look at the map and see which way you want to go. And that is another characteristic or whatever of this trail system, is how peaceful it is. Whenever I hike or bike out on this trail, I'm always amazed at the peacefulness of it. We're not that far off from M55, but far enough where we don't hear any traffic noise. And so this, except for the woodpecker, and those are the sounds you want to hear when you're in nature. You want to get away from the traffic noise and the noise of, you know, motors and everything. So the Mackenzie Trail offers that as well as a very peaceful trail system.
Trail. This is all new because this was cleared probably within the last 2 or 3 weeks.
Wow.
This is very characteristic about what our volunteers spend most of their time doing. We will come out here in a machine that has a winch. We'll make a bunch of chainsaw cuts and we will winch the stuff off to the side so it's gone. But that is a day in the life of a Friends of the Mackenzie volunteer. So part of the reason you see a lot of this is an ash tree, and every ash tree in this area, and there's lots of them, is dead or dying because of the emerald ash borer. So you got a lot of shaky lumber around here, and when it breaks, like this one did right there, it tends to offer collateral damage on the way down. So you end up with a lot. After windstorms, it's almost guaranteed that we lost even more trees and have trail blockages.
Okay.
And this is in the works to be replaced, and we will likely replace it with a bigger, wider, more modern bridge that can accommodate maintenance vehicles. Because who knows what this was rated for? It serves its purpose of getting people across perfectly well, but pretty good culvert action here, getting good aquatic passage through. So this one's in good shape. The one upstream is not, and in our future plans we're going to consolidate them. Okay. You can see the old culvert.
Oh,
not doing much.
Yep.
But this one's doing a little bit better.
Okay.
It'd be replaced, and you can see there's a kind of a patchwork culvert system here that is mostly filled in, but it's already backing up, and you're not getting, you know, what biologists look for is good aquatic passage.
Okay.
There might not be fish in this stream, but there's lots of little critters, and can they move up and down freely? And this one is not doing its job. So what will happen is this trail will get tied into this one, and have one major stream crossing there instead of two. And then this, what we're about to walk, which is where all this flows back into, will likely be decommissioned. It is impossible to get vehicles through most of the time because of how swampy it is. People won't hike through the swamp, so it creates trail braiding, which creates confusion. And generally, these lowland wet areas are considered ecologically sensitive, and so any use is generally not good use. So, so we're going to reconfigure them for better maintenance and usage patterns.
Okay.
Washes it out occasionally.
Okay, so up here, Sam says there's a natural spring that runs right through here and continues down that way.
Yep. So what you'll have is people will divert to either side to avoid getting their boots mucky, and that they'll either go low or go high, and ultimately two trails will happen out of one.
Okay. Oh, yep.
Someone gets to this and they say, I don't want to walk through here.
Right.
And so they'll go left, they'll go right.
Yes.
And ultimately,
and it is mucky.
And it is mucky. No one,
The
critters deserve better.
So this is, wow, this is really.
We can't maintain it in the winter because our stuff will get stuck.
So that's not the trail. The trail goes this way, but that's all the water, and that could be over on here at times too, I'm sure. That much water on the trail.
Yep.
Okay, well, we're going to part ways now because Sam can hike back to where he lives in this area, and I'm going to hike back to the trailhead. So I want to thank Sam for taking the time to talk with me about the Mackenzie Trails, educate us about the Mackenzie Trails and the efforts being made to improve the trails. Now, how can people find out about the Mackenzie Trails?
They can either go to friendsofthemackenzie.org, or they can go to the Huron-Manistee Forest website, or either of the Huron-Manistee National Forest Ranger stations.
Okay, and I might add that if you use the app All Trails, if you pull up Mackenzie Trails in Cadillac, Michigan, I think it's a Cadillac address, it will show you the Mackenzie Trail system. So that's how you can find out more. And while you're here, there's opportunities for good dinner. Cabernet, do they have a restaurant open for dinner?
They do, yeah.
Sam,
yeah,
throughout the summer?
In the summers, I think they're weekends only.
Weekends, okay.
Yep, and in the winter, they all week or all
and they have
time.
a golf course.
Yep,
so you can check out Cabernet Peaks. It's right in this neighborhood. And then there's Lost Pines Lodge.
Yep.
That offers, I think they have a restaurant or something that's been newly renovated. So there's that, and there's Coyote Crossings.
Yep, there's
out here that has live entertainment in the summertime. So you can make it a destination trip coming up and hiking or mountain biking the Mackenzie Trails in the summertime, and then cross-country skiing, and then head over to Cabernet Peaks for some downhill skiing. So it's really a truly northern Michigan destination. And I'm going to go hike some more, and I think I'm going to get a group of mountain biker friends together and come out and start mountain biking the trails to aid in getting it opened up and staying opened up for the summer months, because it's a fabulous trail system. And now's the time to come out mountain biking, because the overgrowth hasn't begun yet. So yeah, so thanks again for watching. I'm going to take Freya back and continue hiking, and remember to rise up, reach, and reconnect.